Hi guys, welcome or welcome back again to my channel. I am Grace and I am the owner of BT Dressmaking Patterns, and on this channel we create a lot of sew along videos to go out along with my sewing patterns which I sell on my website. And we also create some fun vlogs as well as incorporating a new series, which this is one of it today, which is the 101 pattern making course, which comprises of learning how to make your PDF patterns to sell or for yourself, any one of those two. So for today's video, we are going to be learning how to draft a skirt, because I created a poll asking what you would want me to make next on this series. All had a few suggestions. However, I'm going to start with the first one, which is how to draft a skirt pattern using Adobe Illustrator. For this video right here, we're going to have different sections. So we're going to start off with the first section, which is the measurements you would need for creating the pattern. The second one is going to be how to draft your pattern, a Dartless pattern. And the third one is going to be how to draft a skirt pattern with darts. Keep in mind, we're creating a skirt block pattern, which you could use to create different skirts in the future. If you'd want me to create a separate video on how to create different skirt variations from this set block, put that in the comment section and I'll be happy to create that for you, because there are so many skirts you could create from just one pattern block. You'll be amazed by that. And the last one is going to be how to transfer that into a PDF version, which is A4 or US letter. And don't worry, I'm going to leave a link below directing you to where you can download this for free. So you have the A4 and the US letter with the one without the borders. So basically all you need to do is to just print it out and tape them together. Then you have the second version, which is what I use now. All you need to do is to trim along the lines around the border depending on your preference. So what I do is I just trim only one side of the paper, then place that overlapping the other side of the paper that is untrimmed. That way you have all your pattern paper lines as opposed to the unbordered one, because when you print without the border and you just tape them together, the edges tend to have like a space in there with no lines or anything like that, which is okay. However, I just prefer being able to see all the lines on my pattern. So that is why I switched to the bordered version. So the link is going to have the two versions for you to use. And yeah, I just made it very easy. So it's going to have different columns and rows with numberings as well. So as well as a little test section there to just be sure that everything is printed accurately as well. So now that I have already told you everything that is going to be filled in this video, let's just jump right into the video. Okay, now so let's move over to the laptop. So for this, first of all, like I said, the first section is basically your measurements. So since we're just making a skirt, you'll be needing 4 different measurements. So if you're making a dartless skirt, you'll be needing your waist circumference, you'll be needing your hip circumference, as well as the length of the skirt. And here is the thing, the pattern I make from this is what I'm going to use to create a skirt later on. And when I create the skirt, because I don't think everything is going to come accordingly, when I do create the skirt, I'm going to make reference to this video in said video, so that if you're just watching that video first, you can come here. But if you're watching this one first, it's still fine. Okay, so that you see that everything goes from the development stage to the actual garment. Okay, you need your waist circumference, you need your hip circumference, as well as the length of the skirt. And because I want to make a mini skirt, so for the sake of this video, I'm going to making it a mini skirt version. If you want a midi length maxi skirt, you could do the same thing in terms of the length of the skirt. So now let's say you want to create a skirt with a dart. What you'll be needing is your waist circumference, your hip circumference, the length of the skirt, as well as your bust circumference. You'll see why we need the bust circumference later on. So now let us start making the video. Yeah, I'm going to be using my own measurement, but you could use your own measurement as well. You'd also be needing your calculator because we're going to be doing a lot of math here, or some. So for me, the widest part of my body is my hip. My hip is 38 inches. My waist is 28. What we're going to do is to divide our waist measurement by 4, and that is going to give us 7. Then for the hip, we're going to divide the hip measurement, which is 38, divided by 4. That is going to give us 9.5. Now, the reason why we are dividing this into 4 is because we're going to be working with a quarter of our actual measurement when creating our pattern. Now that we found that out, now because I know that the widest part of my body is my hip for the skirt, I'm going to work with the hip measurement when creating the piece I need to start working with for the skirt. So now I know that my widest part is 9.5 when you divide the actual measurements by 4. Now for the length, I already told you I want the length of the skirt to be 16 inches, right? So that is what we're going to do. So the width is 9.5, the height is 16 inches, which is like the same thing as the measurement of your a quarter of the measurement of your waist and the length of your skirt. Now that that is done, we're going to click OK. Now that that's been created, we're going to zoom in so we get to see this better. I remember when you're zooming in, all you just need to do is click on the Z on your keyboard and to take you directly to the zoom icon. Okay, so this right here is the measurement we just created. So now, because we want 2 pieces of this, we want one for the front as well as one for the back. So we're going to create a duplicate. So right, what you need to do in order for you to create a duplicate is to click on your Alt keyboard. I'm not entirely sure what it is on Mac, but yeah, for Windows it's Alt. Then you just drag, making sure that you're still pressing the Alt keyboard. And if you want it to be on the straight line, as you can see, I'm moving it around like this. But if you want it to be on a straight line with the previously made one, you just click on your Control. You click on your Shift rather, as well as the Alt, making sure that it's not moving. You can see it's only going to move in one direction, but it's also going to be straight. It's not going to just move around. Okay, so now that that is done, you remove your finger from your mouse first before removing it from the keyboard. Okay, that's the only way you make sure that you duplicate this properly. So now that that is done, we have 2 pieces, one for the front and one for the back. So I think I'll just label it so that we don't mix it up. So now let us start with the actual skirt making, pattern making. So now what I did was to close the first layer, which has all these, and created a second layer to start with the drafting. So it just makes it easier for me too when I do it that way. So for the sake of this, we're going to create the next one using a different color. All right. And now, first of all, we need to put in our waist circumference divided by 4. And since mine is 7 inches, I'm going to go here by 7 inches. From the edge right there, type 7 inches, go down to the angle and click on 0, because when you click on 0 it goes to the right. If you click on 180, it goes to the left. All right, and because I want it to go to the right, I'm going to click on 0, so the straight line goes to the right. So now from the waistline, we need to find the measurement from our waist to our hip. You need to take that measurement as well. I forgot to talk about that, but because I already know mine, I'm going to put that down. So now from the top right there, which is the waist measurement, I'm going to go down by 8. And now because I want it to go downwards, I'm going to make it 270. That's the angle I mean. The angle is going to be angle 270 degrees. But if you want it to face upwards, the angle is going to be angle 90 degrees, okay? So, but mine needs to face downwards, so it's going to be angle 270 degrees, and click. So you can see I already found the depth from my waist to my hip. So this place right here is going to be my hip measurement. And because we already know what our hip measurement is, we don't need to write that down anyways, because that is the actual measurement of the box from here to here. So what I'm just going to do is to just drag this all the way to this place, and when I'm doing that, I'm going to click on the shift keyboard to make sure that it is straight, because without that it just moves around. But once you click on the shift, it goes straight. All right, so now that that is done, we already know the measurements for the hem as well. The measurement for the hem is also going to be the measurement for the waist when you're creating your block piece. So I'm just going to duplicate the one I created for my waist, my hip, and put that down there. Okay, so now that we've created this, you can see that it's gradually taking shape, right? So you can as well transfer the same measurement to the back, all right? Because it's the same measurement anyways before you go ahead to do other things. I'm going to then transfer these lines we've created, duplicate them, and transfer them to the back. Make sure you're pressing your shift keyboard when doing this so that it's on a straight line, okay? So this is why it's important to have everything on a straight line so that you don't make any mistake. So with that being said, let me go ahead to label this waist. So now we've done that, it is time for us to go back to creating the skirts we actually need. Keep in mind we're still creating our dartless skirts, right? So now that this is done, let's close the second layer and create a third layer. So now for the third layer, we're actually going to start drafting the skirt piece. And after we've gotten this measurement, honestly, drafting the skirt piece is easy breezy. So all you need to do is to click on your selection, your pen tool right here, and just go from here. And I'm going to change the color so that this time around we have a different color. All right. So you just go from here, click here, drag it all the way to this place. Now when you get to this place, you take all the way to here. So now obviously the skirt is not going to look straight like this. We want it to be curved. So what do? You click here where the hip is. Once you click, you don't just click and leave. You click and press, right? So when you click and press, you then drag like this to create the shape of your skirts. Okay, I'll repeat that again. You go from here all the way to the hip measurement here. You left click your mouse. Once you left click your mouse, don't leave the mouse. Don't release the left mouse keyboard. Drag all the way, drag the arrow all the way down. If you drag it up, it's going to give a different shape. But because you want the shape to look like the way your skirt will look if you drafted it on a pattern, so you drag it all the way down like so to create that curve you need for your dress, for your skirt. Now that that is done, you can release it. So from there, you then take the rest, the mini measurements, and your front skirt is done. Now let's do the same thing for the back. So obviously, if you want to do for the back, you could just drag this to the back, or you could decide to just create it again. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to create it again so you see what I did. Back. So when you create a different shape for you create the pattern differently for the front and the back, what you want to do is to make sure that they align perfectly at the side seam here. So this is me taking the front and taking it to the back, just to be sure that, especially the curved area where you created, you want to be sure that everything aligns properly. And for me, I can see they align properly, so I have no issue with that. So I'll just delete this duplicate because I don't need it anymore. And now you've created your dartless skirt for the, we're obviously not going to stay there. So now for this skirt, I wanted to have a facing rather than a waistband. If you wanted to have a waistband, all you need to do is to take the actual measurements here. So depending on the width of the waistband, let's say you want your waistband to be 2 inches wide. You put the actual measurements of your waist divided by 4, which is 7 as the width. Then now the height is going to be 2 inches, and voila, you already have this. So you cut this into 2 unfold, okay? One for the front, one for the back. That is if you're putting the zip at the side. Now, if you're going to put the zip at the center back, you're going to cut one piece of this unfold for the front, then 2 pieces of this at the back. Okay, or if you don't want this and you just want to cut just one long strip, which is what I usually do anyways, what you're going to do is to take your waist measurement divided by 2. So now in this case it's going to be 14 inches divided by 14 inches, right? Then the width is, or the breadth, whatever, is going to be 2 inches. In this case the height is going to be 2 inches. So you have this. So now with that, all you need to do is to just cut this right here, unfold, and you have your long waistband for your skirt. You need to cut 2 pieces of this. Obviously, you need to cut the one you can see in front and the one you can't see, which is going to be the waistband facing. Then you might also need to cut an interfacing just to make the waistband stiff, okay, prevent it from being all soft. Okay, so that is that. However, I already told you that I don't want waistband. I want, okay, so a waistband facing. Now, what am I going to do, right? Let me delete this because I don't need this. What I'm going to do is very easy. I'm going to create a new layer, but before I do that, I'm going to copy these 2 patterns. That is Control C, lock this layer, create a new layer. When you want to paste it to a new layer, you need to make sure that you click on this here, making sure that it has this external circle, and making sure that you're clicking on the layer you want to transfer your new pattern in. Then click on Control F. So when you do that, it pastes it directly on the previous pattern. However, if you just do Control V, it's just going to paste it anywhere. But if you want it to be pasted directly here, right here, you need to make sure it is Control F. So it's pasted directly above or overlapping the previous pattern. Hope that makes sense. So to make it easier to understand, I'm going to change the color for this to a different color. So now you can see that the color for this is purple, right? Now when I make this invisible, you can see the layer 3 is green or cyanide, then this is purple. So now we are going to create our facing from this. Doing it this way just makes it easier for us rather than having to start creating a facing all the way from the beginning, right? Okay, now depending on how wide you want your face, or how wide you want the facing to be, you could decide to do that yourself. So for me, I want the facing to be 2 inches wide. I don't know, I always go for 2 inches. So I'm going to go down from there 2 inches. Now from there 2 inches. And now from that 2 inch there, I'm going to just drag this here. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to drag it here. Now that I've dragged that, I don't need this one anymore. I don't need this line I created, the first line anymore that I got from the top right there. So I'm going to delete that. So now that that has been deleted, I'm going to click on Direct Selection Tool to drag this place all the way to the other side. All right. So now we need to get rid of the remaining part of the skirt panel piece. So what do? We go to this eraser tool here, right click on your mouse, click on the scissors tool, and they're just going to cut here off. So now that when we do that, we have 2 different pieces. We have the one for the top, which is going to be our waistband facing, and we have the one at the bottom, which we don't need anymore. So I'm just going to delete that. Okay, and I'm going to repeat the same step to this side. All right, so now that we've done that, it's time for us to then drag this to meet here and this to meet here. So let me zoom in so you see. Okay, so now that we have this line close to this one and this side close to this side, what we're going to do is to go back to our direct selection tool. We're going to left click to drag. When we do that, we want to join these two lines together. We want to join these two lines together. So what do? We right click our mouse after dragging and connecting those 2 points. Then click on join. So that way, you see, it's been joined together. So now we're going to repeat the same step here and join. Now we're going to do the same thing to this side here. Okay, now that that has been joined, we already have that. So let's take this away from there because we don't need it there anymore. And now we have our waistband facing as well as our skirt piece, and the one for the dartless has been completed. Create the one with the dots and your skirt that to be here. You need to make sure that everything is aligned in allowance that I create.
My hands are shaking, stifle my breath. You look so lovely.